right, hello everyone. It's welcome to another video here of Level Up Gaming. My name is Swizz, and we're going to take down or go through kind of a discussion related to building shame resiliency. So looking forward to going through this. There's a lot of good discussions that we can have, especially for how we kind of view ourselves here. Shame can be pretty difficult, especially when we get it in regards to comparing it to guilt and shame and kind of how those often may feel interchangeable. But the reality is the fact that there are two different aspects related to them. So the goal here is to be able to explore those things and also just kind of think about how shame and how guilt impacts our kind of lives here. So let's get right to the worksheet here. And here we are about building shame resiliency. So there's a quote up here to review about shame, where shame is the intense, painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love, belonging, and connection. So that's a quote to kind of really just kind of internalize to see again how that may kind of impact you, right? So let's go into defining, especially what shame is and how it compares to guilt, humiliation, and embarrassment. So with shame, ultimately the important aspect to define what shame is how we view ourselves, right? So when we first look at shame, we pretty much have again kind of the internalization of that we are doing something wrong, right? So shame says I am bad, and the example to give here is getting a bad grade on a quiz, and the self-talk relates to you're being stupid, right? So it's related to again about you yourself doing something that is not, let's say, of approval for society, approval for yourself, of your kind of your own honor in that sense as well. That's where that shame comes in play, right? Guilt is very similar, but it's related to an action that you're doing that's causing you to feel that type of way, right? So if you, for example, relate to kind of getting the bad grade on a quiz, if you went to a party instead of studying, there could be that guilt associated with that. Be like, oh man, I should have done that. I should have been studying, and I'm so stupid for doing that, right? That's where that guilt is. So the guilt is related to the action. Shame is related to yourself. Other aspects that kind of fall in line related to shame, there's humiliation. So again, others kind of belittling or putting someone down, and embarrassment, right? If you do something that makes you feel uncomfortable, that is what embarrassment is, right? What's important to kind of understand about shame is that shame is universal. And that's where a lot of the times where we feel, especially for anxiety and depression and things of that nature, right? Like we kind of get in our own heads where we feel that, hey, you know what? Like, if I do this or if I do something wrong, like I might get judged or people are thinking about me and this, that, and everything, right? So what's important to understand is that especially if we check the facts about the situation, that's a skill we'll review every now and we have the thought of, oh, this person's gonna make fun of me or whatever it is, we have to kind of ground ourselves and remind ourselves that that individual, even if it is for a few seconds that is occurring, they might be experiencing their own anxiety or their own shame or their own sort of guilt about something in particular, right? So there might be those fleeting thoughts associated with that action that you may do, but the reality is it's not going to be held on to, right? Because they'll have other responsibilities, they'll have other things that need to be done, and it kind of brings you out of that spotlight sort of feeling on yourself and recognizing, hey, other people experience this, right? I'm not the only one that is experiencing this particular feeling. And that's what that particular feeling of shame and anxiety and depression, it creates that isolation, right? The inability to seek out that support, believing in the fact that your experiences are not universal, right? That's very personalized. No one has gone through what I've gone through. I can't trust what others have gone through, which may be true. You may have not gone through very, one-to-one experiences, but the connecting issue are those feelings, and being able to kind of connect and relate to that is key. So, a reminder again that shame is universal. We all experience it, and it's a way to ensure that Again, it's trying to kind of protect us in that sense as well. So we talked about this too, right? The fact that with shame, it's hard for us to talk about it. And what's important to understand, the antidote as we kind of get to that, is the more that we are able to bring it into its existence, right? To talk about, to share, to connect with others, and bring it into the light, out of the darkness that it's thriving in, we're allowed to really just reduce the impact that that shame has on us. The more we have these conversations and the more we bring it to the forefront, the less impact it's going to have. So that's something to kind of recognize too as we are trying to counter and combat the shame that we may be experiencing. So, what are some things we can look at for shame resiliency? We can recognize shame and understanding its triggers, practicing critical awareness, reaching out, and speaking shame. So, all those we kind of, again, really touch base on. But what does it look like? So, for recognizing shame and understanding its triggers, again, being able to have that ability to reflect and identify what does the shame look like to you. I always recommend being able to journal, put these thoughts down on paper, bring it into a visual space because it allows you to really just hone in and focus on that thought that you're experiencing. There's so much crap that's going in our heads that's hard to really just kind of take that step back and focus on it. So if you can put it on paper, it allows ourselves to be able to really highlight and focus on what we're experiencing there. So again, what does it look like for you? What are some ways we can physically recognize the shame in our body? And are there any situations that brought up these feelings of shame in the past? Again, ask these questions. The more we ask these questions, the more impactful they can be in trying to reduce the intensity of that shame. Practice critical awareness. So being able to, again, like I had said earlier, check the facts. One of the things that's important is that feelings are not facts, right? When we feel the shame coming, ask these questions. Are they realistic? Are they messages that have occurred to you in the past? Are they related to your values? What are the particular messages are being instilled for you? Being able to again practice that critical awareness is key to combat that shame. Reaching out, so again, being able to build those connections, those supports is necessary. And as we discussed earlier, it allows ourselves to reduce the intensity of the shame. The more we can build those connections, the less impactful that shame will be for us. And finally, here again, being able to kind of talk about it is key. So if we're able to open up and discuss, hey, this is something I feel shameful about, you might get support, you might get reassurance. But what's important to understand is the more you're able to kind of open it up and discuss it, the less intense it will be. So, good topic there. Like I said, this can be a hard one too because, as I was saying earlier, a lot of the time we may individualize our shame. And what's important to understand is that, again, to your point, you may feel that that particular experience is, to yourself, and no one has done that, which more than likely is true. Or it is true. I'm sorry that individual experience that you have gone through is not universal. It is very personal to you. But what's important to understand is that everyone, the human race has experienced and shamed. The human race has experienced guilt, humiliation, embarrassment, all these things, and that's where that connection comes through. Hey, excuse me, I've experienced this shameful experience before. I can completely understand how it must feel to you, right? Of however that action was that occurred to you, and you must feel not too great about that. Being able to get that connection is the ultimate goal, really, on top of being able to kind of speak about it and just kind of bring those facts into the forefront and remind ourselves that the feelings we have, even though they are very valid in what we're feeling, it is not a fact. And that's an important thing to kind of recognize is that the more we're able to speak kind of shame and provide the facts into the picture, the less intense it will be. So hopefully this is a good topic here for you. I recommend checking out my other videos here on Level Up Mental Health. Right now we're still doing a Psychonauts run through. But yeah, there's a lot of good skills here. Make sure to like and subscribe here. Appreciate you watching it. Hopefully check in the next one. Take care.